Straight out the boot room, to Wembley, our second home. We come to conquer, no we never walk alone. We dominate, the cream of the crop, drawing all our strength from the roar of the cock. It's all for one, and one for all. Pass a move, we're talking total football. Here we go again, Roy's red machine. Liverpool, the greatest team the world has ever seen. Pass a move, it's the Liverpool crew. Pass a move, it's the Liverpool crew. Pass a move, 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 it's the Liverpool crew.
Hello and welcome back to the Liverpool Groove. Liverpool are finally set to announce the first signing of the summer, although we're not going to actually get to see him in goal for Liverpool this year. But it's a big signing, a big deal, I think. Giorgi Mamardashvili will be joining from Valencia on a long-term deal. Will be loaned straight back out to Valencia. But to discuss that, I am joined by Luca from Georgian Footy, just to discuss Mamardashvili and the deal itself. So, Luca, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, mate.
Not a problem at all. So, firstly, I mean, the deal, it looks to be, from if reported to be believed, about 35 million euros, including some add-ons. Given his performances at the Euros and his standing in European football at the moment, I feel like it feels like this is a bit of a bargain for Liverpool.
Yeah, you say so because, we've seen keepers going for far more. Like Kepa, he went to Chelsea about 4 years ago for, I think, 75 or 80 million pounds, which at the time, he was probably similar age as Mamardashvili, but at the time, he wasn't really like first choice goalkeeper for Spain as well. So obviously, a few bits happen in transfers that kind of bumps up the price as well. He's being Spanish, playing in La Liga for a few more years as well, but for 35 million, I can't really see you buying any better goalkeeper. Maybe Diogo Costa from Porto, but probably those two are probably the goalkeepers I'd say who are one of the better up and coming goalkeepers right now in Europe. And for 30 plus 5, which was like an add-on kind of bonus for him, I think it's a great price. I don't really want to sound biased, but considering all the prices we have for players right now, it is a good price. It's definitely a good price.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, Diogo Costa probably is the other one in European football at the moment that you probably look at as being sort of the two big ones for the future. And so for Liverpool to secure a deal of this price, I'm very happy with it. Do you think it's smart for Liverpool to have him stay in Valencia for at least the next season?
You'd say so because obviously you got Keller, who's probably the second choice goalkeeper for you right now, on behind Alisson, and just having three really good goalkeepers in the exact same team doesn't really work fine for the other two. Development was Alisson. I've seen his comments talking about whether he'd stay for next season or something. He said like, "Oh, I'm quite happy, contented at Liverpool, and that I like to stay here for many years." And seeing that obviously means the other goalkeepers, well, in this case, Mamardashvili has to find a place where he will develop and play because he's going to turn 24 next month. So he's quite young. So he needs to play time. He needs to trust. He needs the minutes to improve. And there are a lot of areas he needs to improve, obviously, as a young goalkeeper. But I think it's probably the best case scenario for him. I'd say maybe it was rumored that he could have went to Bournemouth on loan from Valencia. That could have also been nice in terms of him just kind of adjusting to the English game a bit more. Obviously, he needs to. It's a big change from going from Spain to England, isn't it? Not just because of football wise, just everything around you, the weather, the culture, everything. So I wouldn't mind that as well. Him going to Bournemouth, but yeah, staying in Valencia is probably right now the best option for him to just get those minutes before the next season starts and then just challenge Alisson, as he said before.
Yeah. I mean, the Bournemouth one I think would have been good, but I think it just sounded overly complicated the way it was going to have to work out, obviously, because we wouldn't have been able to sign him and loan him straight to Bournemouth. It just seemed complicated, and I think the worry for me is there's no guarantees that, if he'd had a great season at Bournemouth, would Valencia then still agree to sell him for the price that they would do, or would they try and get more? So I think this works out best for everybody. You mentioned there he's obviously a young goalkeeper. He's still got a lot of things to improve on, given his age. What are his strengths at the moment, would you say?
Well, he's a great shot stopper. I mean, well, that's what you want from a goalkeeper, obviously. But one rebounds, shot. Just goalkeeping on the line is quite nice. He's good. He's polished a bit in terms of just running out and claiming long balls, high balls, crosses, and stuff like that, which he really needed to do because at first it was a bit of a struggle for him in the first sort of season, a year and a half basically that he had at Valencia. And I'd say those 3 or 4 aspects are probably. And he's already quite confident. He's a big lad. He's about nearly 2 meters tall, so that still is a pretty physical presence for those sort of long balls. And he's definitely something. He will be a presence definitely, but again, the weaknesses are his general ball distribution isn't all that impressive. But again, you also have to consider a few things in which Georgia doesn't really play possession-based football, especially going against sort of top tier opposition as we had in the Euros per se, and at the club as well. Valencia are right now, the last 3 or 4 years they haven't been all that convincing in terms of attacking and going direct with the ball. So that also has to be considered. But as a whole, if he kind of improves a bit on that matter, I think he'd be set for the next 6-8 years, being at the very top of the pecking order.
Yeah, and you mentioned that there is distribution and as with the ball at his feet isn't the best at the moment. Given the way Arne Slot looks to have Liverpool playing out from the back, is that something he can? Do you think that's something he can improve on enough to play that style of football?
Yeah, well, he has to, because in the meantime, you have to consider also, like, would have they bought him if they didn't see that he's got what it takes to improve? Probably not, because 35 million again is not a small fee, especially with Liverpool kind of struggling when signing players this summer. I think Mamardashvili is probably your first signing this summer, isn't it? Like permanent. Well, he's always going to go on loan from Valencia, but still. So if it's also a case to be considered whether they wouldn't splash out money for someone they don't see as part of their plans. And I think again he's well aware that he needs to improve on that aspect. It's definitely because we've seen a lot of interviews with him talking about what's your strength, what's your weaknesses, and he always kind of points out that like I'd like to improve my general sort of ball distribution, either short passes, long balls, and stuff like that. So I hope and I do believe that he will do well in that aspect, and maybe in 25, 26 season he'll be quite good on that matter. So
yeah. So when he does sign, he will become Liverpool's first ever Georgian player.
Yeah.
Will that be seen as a big deal in Georgia, do you think?
Yeah, for sure. We're not really, especially for the last sort of 20 years, we didn't have many players playing in the Prem. We had King Plaza and all the guys in the 90s, Kispire and Newcastle and Plaza City, but he will be the first Georgian to play in the Prem since the year 2009. We had a guy in Blackburn Rovers, but it's a huge move for him. He will break the Georgian all-time transfer record as well at 35 million euros, as it is reported. So it's definitely a huge thing for Georgia, and people supporting there. Plenty of people supporting Liverpool. So for them, it's like an extra bonus to just keep on supporting. But it's a positive. Although there are concerns in terms of his whether he get the game time, whether he will play as much as he needs to play. Because again, as I said before, he's quite young. He needs to play. He needs to develop. He needs to improve. So that is a slight concern, I suppose. But again, you have to challenge yourself. You have to challenge the opposition and your teammates as well to become better. And hopefully that will be the case with him.
Yeah. In terms of the national side, obviously, I think it's fair to say that Kvicha Kvaratskhelia is the main man for the Georgian national team. But how important is, even at a young age, how important is Mamardashvili to the national team at the minute?
Yeah, he's been probably, I'd say, in terms of the impact that he had, especially at the Euros, he saved 29 shots, which was like an all-time record at the Euros. So you basically got to show that in the big games when we needed him to deliver for us, he did exactly that. He saved 11 shots against Czech Republic in a game which we drew and helped us to secure a bit more chances of qualifying. And again against Portugal, I'm not sure if you've seen the game, but he pulled off 2 or 3 saves where it was nearly a goal, basically, with like 100% goal scoring opportunity. So he's one of the good things I think about him is the fact that he has got confidence in him, and it's not cockiness. I'd say it's just he knows his abilities. He knows that he's a skillful player. He knows that he's still got plenty of room to improve, and with that kind of confidence, especially him being a big presence, he generally kind of delivers for us, probably against every single opposition. But again, there are ups and downs, especially at his younger age. Again, he's nearly 24 right now, so yeah, also have to consider that. But as a whole, I think he's probably one of our consistent performers for the last 1.5, 2 years, so to speak.
Yeah, and just in terms of performance, as you mentioned, obviously Valencia haven't been in the best place for the last few years. But how have his performances been for Valencia since he's been there?
I'd say quite good, especially last season. He was probably the year when he really improved. He had 13 clean sheets for a relatively poor Valencia side who nearly managed to secure European football, but I think they were 8th or 9th in the league last season. But as a whole, he's probably the best season that he had. Saved the penalty saving was probably one of these issues as well, which he improved last year. He saved 4 and 6, so that also kind of goes to show that he's willing to improve and he tries to improve and does improve. And about his general play again, confidence, he stopping shots. I think he prevented the most goals in La Liga last season at 11.23 or something like that. I can't really remember that for sure. And he was second in top league, so that basically goes to show that he's a capable shot stopper as well. And as for probably in the league, I think he was up there with maybe Unai Simon and Lunin at Real Madrid, who those three are probably one of the 3 standout goalkeepers, in my eyes at least. But again, I don't really want to sound biased, but that was the general conception. The general perception between supporters who follow La Liga and stuff. So
yeah, I mean, I like the look of him. I mean, I've only really seen bits and here and there from him last season, not too much. But obviously the Euros, as you mentioned, his performances were a highlight of the tournament as a whole, I think. And I think a lot of people would agree with that. Do you think after his performances at the Euros, do you think a big move was kind of just waiting to happen after that?
Yeah, for sure. Even last season, actually, Bayern Munich were one of the teams who nearly signed him, but they weren't willing to pay. I think it was about 25 million euros at the time, which looking at it now, obviously could have been even more of a bargain having him at the team, but obviously that didn't work well. Chelsea, Spurs, also one of them last season, but that also didn't work that well happily because I don't want anyone signing for Chelsea right now. And at the Euros, obviously, that was probably like the best possible way for you to present yourself, especially coming from a smaller nation and playing well, keeping a clean sheet and saving the most amount of shots helped him just to further boost his value. And 35 million was definitely a good price for him. And a lot of teams, where somewhere about like Man United was one of the teams who were interested in signing him, even in January as well, but that didn't work out kind of well. They were hoping for Onana to leave, I think. That was probably the main reason why I didn't sign Mamardashvili. But nowadays, I think it's probably the best case scenario for him in terms of where he is right now, and the team is heading towards next year.
Yeah, I agree. So he signed for Valencia from Dynamo Tbilisi, and if I'm right in saying he didn't actually play a first team game for Dynamo,
not even a single second, not even a single minute. Yeah,
had a couple of loans, but they signed him on the back of a very strong, I believe it was Euro 2020 campaign. Is that right? Qualifying campaign. Yeah. Were you surprised how fast he was able to become Valencia number 1?
He got lucky. I have to say that as well, because he was signed as a 4th choice goalkeeper, basically for the B team. And when he went there, this is obviously again when COVID is still a thing, lockdowns and stuff like that. And Jasper Cillessen, the former Dutch number 1, he had COVID. The second goalkeeper got injured, and there was a competition between him and the 3rd choice goalkeeper. And one of them got minutes in the first game. He got the minutes in the second preseason game and did well. He did well against AC Milan as well in a preseason friendly, saved a penalty there as well. And he basically started the first 7 or 8 games in La Liga. He was the man of the match as well in the first game as well, helping Valencia to secure a 1-0 win over Getafe. And since then, again, he was just straight upwards. Although he had a bit of a difficult spell from sort of October until kind of January, February, because he conceded a couple of goals, obviously dampened his spirits. And as far as I know, he was a bit kind of homesick at the time because he didn't really understand the language. And now he's quite fluent in Spanish as well. So that obviously helps to adapt and be kind of well aware of the system you're in and the culture you're in. And as a whole, he's just been going upwards since then. And now he had a record for the most consecutive starts for Valencia in La Liga all time, which was about like, I think 68 games or something like that. So that's still something. But I mean, Valencia are a big team in Spain as well. They're more like one of the more traditional teams in La Liga as well. So that kind of basically goes to show that he's got given the trust, and he surely made them made all the sorts of benefits from it. So
yeah, absolutely. Obviously, with the emergence of the likes of Mamardashvili and Kvaratskhelia, as we mentioned, has there been a sort of a boom of like as football become even more popular in Georgia since David?
Yeah, sure. Yes. But, well, when Kvaratskhelia moved to Napoli in 2022, that was the first sort of initial peak of kids going outdoors, buying Kvaratskhelia shirts from Napoli and all sorts of things. And for a smaller country, what else do you need just to kind of feel part of a culture, which is obviously European football, and especially the Euros, where probably the biggest boost that we have had in terms of the attendances as well. There were about I don't know, reportedly about 80,000 people went from Georgia to Germany, which was a big figure, especially for a smaller country. So that basically goes to show that people are really kind of passionate and are willing to support their team, and especially after good Euro campaign, make it around 16. That basically helps to further be backed by your supporters. And even we have a game against Czechia in September, and the tickets sold out in about 56 minutes, something like that. So that's I'd say it's becoming a huge trend in here, and rightfully so.
Yeah, it's a good time for Georgian football, definitely.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think the one thing that can't be understated in Georgia is obviously, I think, the Cristiano Ronaldo opened an academy in Georgia. I believe,
so that's not the case. That's not
is
the
that
case.
Not
He didn't
actually
open an
right,
academy. Now he was invited on the grand opening of Dinamo Tbilisi Academy, and he was just there as one of the guests. Andrei Shevchenko was one of the players as well, who went there just to take a couple of pictures with the kids and be part of the opening ceremony at the time. But he had no part in terms of investing or something like that. That was a false rumor that kind of circulated around when we played against Portugal. But yeah,
goes to show how fast false rumors spread.
Yeah.
So I think the main thing with Mamardashvili is Liverpool are signing a player with a massive potential. He's got the potential to become one of the very best keepers in the world, if not, the best keeper in the world in a few years' time. Do you think that Liverpool is the right team for him to reach his potential?
It's difficult to judge now, I think, because all depends. Like during, I think his first few games, whether he will be able to fit into the system, he'll be part of the culture, which again is a difficult transition coming from Spain to England with all the moving parts, because we're all human beings. Obviously, there are a lot of things that affect us on and off the field. And if that was the case, 35 million again, it's not like a huge money to be sort of pressurized again going to the sign that Chelsea have made, like the big money they've spent on players. But that is definitely a factor for the players to kind of to feel a bit more, under pressure in a certain way. But yeah, good for him. I think it's right now it's looking like the best option. Especially the goalkeeper market is a bit difficult because there are not really too many teams who need a goalkeeper, if you ask me, around the world, especially like the top teams, because where else he would have gone? Top 4 in the Prem, top 5 in the Prem, probably, or every single team have got a starting goalkeeper. Maybe say Manchester could have kind of swapped around with Onan and Mamardashvili, but that's about it, I guess. Similar thing with Spain, Barcelona, Madrid, and Atletico Madrid have all got great goalkeepers, so don't really see him fit anywhere. Serie A probably the same. So right now, he's probably looking as the best option. Again, depends on whether he will get the trust in the minutes, which hopefully will be the case for him, and we will see him play maybe week in, week out for Liverpool quite soon.
Yeah, I think one thing that's going to be good for Mamardashvili is obviously, I think from a coaching perspective, obviously we've got Claudio Taffarel, former Brazilian goalkeeper. We've got him as part of the coaching team. But the one thing that's always been said and noticed about Liverpool's goalkeepers is they're very much they're their own little group. They sort of just keep to themselves, but they all support each other. They're always trying to make everybody play to the best of their ability. And I think having that support network there straight away for them will be huge. And I think hopefully that will help him reach his potential.
Yeah, definitely. Having a sort of like a comforting, like a family environment inside the team, that obviously definitely helps. And having a top keeper in Alisson being someone you're going to follow, you're going to watch train, is definitely something to be A, just proud of, and B, just to be thankful for, because that's not too many players have got that kind of a blessing to be part of. And especially with, as I mentioned before, he speaks fluent Spanish, so communicating with Alisson in Portuguese wouldn't be that big of an issue.
Yeah.
And I think yeah. Again, as I said before, it all depends whether he'd be considered, and I'm pretty sure he will be considered as part of the team's plans, and hopefully will be the case for him. Just to, again, as I said, push and just try to compete with Alisson and Keller if he stays at the team, which I'm not really sure he will, because again, there are 3-4 goalkeepers at the team right now, so it's a bit difficult for every single one of them to get minutes and deserve the minutes that they think they do.
Yeah, no, well, remains to be seen, but Luca, thank you very much for joining me. It's a big deal for Liverpool. It's a big deal for Georgian football. And hopefully it's one that works out for all parties and Liverpool. I truly do believe we've got one of the best upcoming goalkeepers in the world. So I'm very excited with the deal.
Yeah, me too, man.
Well, again, thanks very much for joining me. I really appreciate your time today.
Cheers, mate.